Oh, that took a while to get online. Let's see, voice getting through, maybe. This is sort of a... It's going to be a patch from scratch kind of thing, mostly. Sorry for the cutting the music. I'm sure you enjoyed those repeating ARPs. Got a new case. It's pretty nice. I haven't streamed for a while, but hey, new case. And I made a new concept for my Droid setup, almost in frame here, which I think is going to be pretty likely to be more permanent than my other patches. Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. Thank you, Jean. So the concept with this case is, by the way, that you can sort of put a lid on it as well, and the lid is sort of deep enough that you can have it patched at the same time, which is really something that I wanted, just for aesthetics and for keeping dust away from stuff and keeping it out of reach of potential people who could, tug at the cables without knowing what they're doing. So I think it's pretty nice, and also it has like LED lights, which is pretty cool, both up and down. So very, very suited for late night noodling and things like that. Yeah, so basically I thought I wanted to have like a flexible but sort of constrained sequencer. The idea is basically that I have right now coded it with 4 identical voices and 6 percussion voices, or 6 drums, and each of the melodic voices can sort of be programmed or sequenced as usual, but if you mute them, you can sort of trigger them at a certain note, or just, let them drone. Which is going to be awesome for 2 things, like one, just having loads of drones, and the other one is just testing out the voices without actually having the sequence to play. So I have plenty of options in this rack, and basically I've just stuffed my modules in and tried to have some idea of putting like identical voices close to each other and thinking a little bit about cable length. But I'm gonna redo all of this eventually, I'm sure. Right now I have no idea how I would redo it. But I've also just stuffed all my modules in, except for like one 2 HP module and one my Pico DSP I've also not included, but otherwise every single module that I own is in here. I have like 2 very small blind panels left. Otherwise I'm completely out of anything that could fill it up, but I really prefer to have all the HPs used, so I don't get dust into the rack or lose something into the to the rack. So yeah, I'm gonna reorganize it at some point. I'm also just right now really happy that it's sort of that I had enough modules and blank panels to fill it up. So I have one voice only patched right now, and it's just a very basic oscillator into a filter kind of setup. So I'm gonna think a little bit about how I want to do it with the 4 voices I have. I have more oscillators than that, so that's good. I don't have enough filters to do more than 4 voices, luckily. But you know, I only have 4 voices to sequence anyway, so I'd have to layer some stuff if I want to use all the oscillators. But there's also a point in you know, don't use all your modules. You don't have to. But I guess for like the first voice, I want to have it be kind of a bass, and for that purpose, this ST Modular Honey Eater is pretty obvious because it has the 2 sub octaves out, so it, you know, let me just. This is just the pure waveform. This is with 1 octave down. This is with 2 octaves down. So it's a good voice for a bass line. And right now I have. And this is the Doper low pass filter, the VCF1, which I think everybody's sleeping on because it sounds really good. It has sort of a good amount of resonance without being sort of crazy, and a little bit of overdrive. And then it has both, well, it actually has 3 CV inputs. One of them is without any pots, but the 2 other ones can be sort of limited a little bit, which is nice. It's the Doper A120 VCF1, just called the low pass filter, which is, I mean, Doper has a lot of filters, but this one is sort of, I think, the most basic one they have, but it's not basic at all. It just seems that way because it's not a multi-mode filter, and it sort of only does low pass filtering out. Right now I just plugged a separate envelope into the frequency. Yeah, exactly that one. A 120 24 dB Moog ladder filter. Yeah. Actually, I haven't tested whether there's any difference between these CV inputs. No, there's not. I kind of really appreciate using this Doper setup for my bassline. The envelope module I'm using is the Doper dual ADSR, which is pretty awesome for that duty specifically, because you can trigger it. You can trigger the left side, and then you basically get 2 envelopes. You can set up differently, so you can have like your VCA envelope in with one sort of configuration, and you can have your filter envelope in a different configuration, which is a pretty neat way of doing things. Like, you could have 2 separate envelopes, fine, but you kind of get the whole connection for free. You don't have to mold anything, and that's actually one of my problems right now. I have a single mult in this case. I have some modules that can do a little bit of it, but I had to sacrifice my 1U modules to build this case. There's no 1U strip in it at all. Where I had a simple mult there, and I had a buffered mult there as well. and then I had to sacrifice my other regular mult because it had a front panel that fit my ADAC bridge. I have this ADAC bridge, and when I bought it, it's the ADAC 230B bridge, which sort of has this ribbon cable at the backside. Connects 8 jacks between it, which is nice. But when I bought it, I bought it special from ADAC and got them to pair up a 1U version of it with a 3U version. So I had only one end of it that could actually fit in this case, but it turns out that you could just take off the 1U faceplate, and accidentally the one other basic mult I had, the faceplate of that fit perfectly on those jacks, so that's been sacrificed. I have a couple of these stackable cables, but I only have one long of them. The other ones are very, very short. It's like this length here, which is not gonna do much in this, but it might help. Anyway, so I'm just gonna leave this honey eater voice alone, and then I'm gonna patch up in another voice. And I recently refound this Instruo toner module that I bought on second hand long time ago, which is a wavefolding oscillator, and I'm not very strong with this. The whole other is it West Coast or East Coast? I think it's East Coast. So there's this thing, the Buchla style, where you have wavefolders instead of filters. But you know, let's try it. And maybe we should actually plug it into this DXG. I have this low pass gate module from Make Noise. I think that might actually be fun. Make it a little bit more plucky. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make spaghetti. This is going to be so much spaghetti. I have no idea whether I have the right cable length, and I have patched very little in this rack, this constellation. So apologies for the spaghetti. I'm also going to spend some time tuning these voices, which is going to be fun. Good listen for everybody. So this is number 2 out, and I'm gonna need a gate for it, or an envelope. Let's use this envelope. This is also one of my treasured simple modules. It's the envelope, just called envelope from ST Modular. Really nice module. Just simple ADSR with faders, but a built-in modulator, so you can sort of modulate some of the stages here, or all of them basically, and some more advanced features as well, which I haven't really used much of. Let's see, that's this one, and then we should also see, we now actually don't need a filter or the VCA, which is the huge one here, but we still need to send the envelope to the control circuit of the low pass gate. Then we can send it with this ADAC bridge down. This is actually a stereo module, so we could patch it up as stereo. Let's do that. I actually have shorter cables than that. Let's see. Okay, that was one side of it. Let's go for the other side as well. Good. And so that's actually plugged there. The envelope fires. So that should actually work. Nope. Wrong output. Oh yeah, this sounds really pathetic. Let's see. Maybe if we take a copy of this envelope, or slower envelope, or maybe just an LFO to modulate this wave folding thing. Let's take a simple, slow-moving LFO in here. Doesn't sound very impressive, I'd say. Let's get a faster LFO into it. A little bit dubsteppy, perhaps. Don't want to do dubstep. It sounds really tinny right now. Not quite sure what to do with that. I do have a stereo equalizer, so I can sort of boost the bass a little bit. It's, by the way, nice to use instro cables when you patch instro modules. No, I really like these cables, they're really nice. At least they're pretty. See, this is left, right in. This is left, right out. There we go. I haven't tested with this module actually works, but we'll see soon. This would do really well in sort of a slow-moving drone patch. All right, I'll get yeah, but this is very low. This is not sending very much right now, so. But yeah, I can boost it, definitely. It's interesting, I'm actually, but yeah, I'll just boost it a little bit. Let's see. It's actually jeez. Good, good. Let's try to sequence something with it. This sounds pretty nice. Let's get some bass line going on here. Let's make the first one just drone. Already the tuning is off. Pretty nice. Let's plug in an LFO to give the bass line a little bit more movement. this into a real sequence. Yeah, the cutoff, the sweep for sure. Let's take some of the reverb off it. Let's move this to channel 2. Because then I can actually take channel 2's output, just give it a little bit of delay. That one in. I'm actually gonna need the mixer I have just above it, or I can take it below it. Thanks, Ben. Okay, I'm thinking the third voice. Let's do an arpeggiator. I'm just gonna go directly for the cliches. Hello, rings. I have no shame when it comes to this. Maybe a little, but you know. Let's see. Rings, 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 rings. House plugging in the right gate. Hello, Tim. Much a sitting down case. This actually, it's actually sitting down and getting up all the time because it's so tall. try something different. Just gonna mute the other ones just quickly. There was the sweet spot. So if we change this to one of the polyphony modes, we get chords. Yeah, saddle chair sounds nice. Okay, I'm gonna need some more movement with this. So what's gonna be? Yeah, this kind of movement. I think that matches up pretty well with slow one in the oct. Still a couple of things I haven't finished in the sequence actually. One of them, the ones that I'm gonna need pretty soon, is something with presets. I want to have more than one sort of part of a performance or a thing that I can switch between. This becomes very sort of monotonous after a while, even though I can sort of move them around the scale. So I'm thinking of patching up the final voice. I think I want to have something that sort of complements the arpeggio chords. I basically just slow movements, but more melodic movements. Thinking that this sounds like a job for Elements. Elements is really a confusing module. It's one of those things that can really sound not very interesting, but weird if you sort of mess up some parameters. It's kind of it's the troublesome and complicated big brother to rings, for sure. Let's do something with that. How long cable do we need? Probably a long one. Ah yeah, it's gonna be some nice spaghetti over here already. Longer than that. Make it drone. Just turn it up a little bit, just so weird. I'll turn the other ones down. Actually, I'm gonna mute them, just okay, that's a little bit too bagpipey for my taste. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Kashar. It's been kind of my method as well. In this madness, try to make one sequencer work, then replicate them out. I've been sort of thinking, my original plan was actually to have 2 copies of each of the sequencers, and then sort of have like an A and a B melody, and then basically just swap from A to B when I wanted, so I can sort of program the B sequencer while the A one is playing. At the right opportune moment, swap to the B one. I haven't done that part, but I checked the memory consumption of this patch, and it only takes about half the memory, and that's with the available memory. And that's with four melodic voices and 6 drum voices. So I definitely have room for it. I just thought I'd leave the 4 last voice slots I have reserved for this for like to see if whatever shows up when I'm actually jamming with it on stream, if there's some function I need, and I definitely also thought of building in some CV recording or something like that for these transposition movements, so I can sort of program in chord movement sequence. I've had that before in some other patches I made, but it's also, I always feel like there's a danger that you're building a jukebox rather than an instrument, and I definitely don't want to build a jukebox. Like a jukebox is stood here as a thing you just press play on, and then you leave the room. It does its own thing on its own, which is definitely nice for like the whole music, but that's not necessarily what I'm going to want for like a performable sequence. And I think performable is really the key word here. Like I've tried to hide as little as possible in layers, so that all the controls that I would want to have while I'm performing it are always exposed. And I think if I build too much sort of fancy logic into it, it's going to be very complicated. Like I have 2 post-it notes here, luckily not visible on stream, but just to remind myself what the various knobs and buttons do here. So yeah, there's definitely an ergonomic point to these sequences. Of course, you can practice them and learn the ergonomics you built, but you can definitely make it easy for yourself, and you can definitely also make it harder for yourself. But yeah, build one sequencer, test it with one voice, and see how you like it. It's definitely most of the investigation is in that part, and then you can sort of just replicate it up. As long as you have memory for another one, you have room for another one. Or like, it also depends on controllers, of course. Yeah, so less backpipe, please. Let's just let's build something simple melodic. Yeah, so that's sort of one of the things that is about Elements, is that it sort of has one sound on the trigger and another sustained sound. It's probably a good explanation for that if you knew more about synthesis than I do. And it has a one knob envelope thing here, which takes some time to get used to. But in opposite to rings, the gate length actually matters here. Luckily I have a master gate length over right here. You see, like when I'm getting close to like the full duty cycle with a high gate, I get like this, where this is when there's actually space between the gates. And this contour here is basically just the contour knob that I'm turning here. That and you couldn't tell, but this is basically, it just morphs between 2 outer ends of waveform, like either a very pointy waveform or a very sort of flat waveform, which is the envelope that is generated by the gate you plug into it. And I've come to realize that in some with some gate lengths it definitely matters and it makes a huge difference, but if you're not getting any results from it, probably you're running either too short gate or too long gate. Like, I'm basically cranking up the gate length here in all the steps, and I have like added extra length to it, so we are very, very close to the maximum length. So this is basically also where you need to decide what kind of sound do you want from it. Is it sort of, is it more the plucky sound you want to have, or is it more like the stringy, the sustained one? Since I was actually talking about having this to be a long one, I should actually program it as one. So first step is to make it slower. And that means I need to find out something else to play. So let's do it more like a scale. Let's actually clear this whole thing. If I remember how... Yeah, that was clear. Good. Page 1. Let's just make it 8 slowly evolving steps. Longer gates. I can bind together these nodes somehow. I can also just make the gate length longer. And actually, I can. I have this really cool sequencer feature in Droid called the pitch accumulator, which basically allows you to have like a step in your sequence that goes one note up or one note down every bar for a set amount of bars. So that could let's set it to, let's see, 0 bars, 2 bars, 4 bars. Let's do it every 4 bar, and then let's see how this works. This one, now it goes up 2 notes every bar for 4 bars, then resets. I think I'd like just 1 note up. Let's turn the clock. That's wrong clock. Yeah, let's make it slow like that. So you can have these melodies that sort of evolve a little bit every time they go around, which makes them a little bit more interesting. let's get some of the stuff back again. I need to check what the hell I've been doing, because I managed to clear all the other sequences. So there might be a mistake in my patch or in my my droid controller somewhere. That's pretty annoying. Anyway, that's life. remember to take the mute button up when I'm talking. So yeah, I did change the pots on the force. I had actually hoped they would be slightly larger, the ones I bought, but they're really nice. They're really nice. The original knobs that came with have this a sort of a pointing arrow, which is really confusing. At least I think it is, because you know, they are infinitely turning knobs, and this arrow has no connotation whatsoever. All right, have a good time, Kasha. Later. I think I'm gonna take a break soon. I need to think about my own survival as well. in which case, I mean, remember to make some dinner. But we still have 6 drum voices to patch up. And this patch has turned out really nice and ambient. And I'm really afraid of adding percussion to it, because I have a feeling that that's gonna change the mood completely. It's gonna be like much more techno. That maybe works better as well for like a later at night kind of stream. I'm just gonna jam with this for another couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna call it. Seeing quite a lot of clipping at this point. I'm going to turn the master down a little bit. This wave folding stuff here. I wonder if ChatGPT can tell me how to avoid my elements sounding like a bagpipe. Because it's it's all it does right now. Movement is always the solution. that's enough for today, or for now. Gotta get that food, or make that food in this case. I'll probably be back later tonight. Hopefully. Thanks for watching.